What is lead? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What is lead, though? Genuinely. So lead comes from a mineral, an ore, called galena. And this is lead atoms attached to some sulfur atoms, and they're in this like crystal lattice structure that turns into this mineral, galena. And it turns out that silver also occurs at the same time in deposits of this mineral in the earth. So early mining of lead was really just mining of silver, and then eventually people figured out that, hey, you know, this metal, we could use it for some things, but it was really the Romans that are most popularly known for using it in plumbing and also for sweetening their wine. Incidentally, plum bum, the elemental name for lead, comes from the fact that Romans used it for plumbing, and that just kind of carried forward to this day. We've been poisoning ourselves with lead for quite some time, and we knew it was toxic. This Roman dude, Vitruvius, he's like the one that's most known for like saying that lead was toxic, and people didn't listen to him, I guess. I don't know why. But we really picked it back up with lead around the Industrial Revolution. And the Industrial Revolution is when people started looking a lot more closely at what we could do with the materials around us, including some of the metals. And lead, well, lead was taking the cake, baby. It's soft, it's easy to work with, melts at a low temperature, it's very resistant to corrosion. And at the end of it all, the things that you can make from lead, like the chemical compounds, the salts, and the organometallic compounds, are actually all really useful too. Especially in particular this one, lead carbonate, which makes some of the best white paint that we'd ever been able to make. These uses kind of catapulted lead across the world into various people's homes and into various industrial settings. And then we made the big mistake. So the big mistake, as many people might know, was tetraethyl lead, or leaded gasoline. When your car burns gasoline, the piston has to ignite at the right time. And if it doesn't, this can cause what's called knocking. Tetraethyl lead was added to gasoline to kind of help prevent this problem. Cars didn't break down as much, gas was more efficient, everybody was happy until they realized that they were pumping this tetraethyl lead stuff out into the atmosphere, and you know, kids were just walking by breathing this stuff, and adults were just walking by breathing this stuff. And remember I told you Vitruvius knew it was toxic? Well, tetraethyl lead is an organometallic compound. That means that it is a compound that has carbon atoms attached to a metal. And this makes it very easy for it to get into your body and start doing things it's not supposed to do. In addition to the leaded gasoline, leaded paint was also everywhere. Now, leaded paints are a little less toxic, but still very toxic, especially because eventually it chips and flakes off and falls, and these bits of dust get into people's airways, or children find their way to them and eat them. And as it turns out, lead tends to have a slightly sweet taste to it when it's in these kinds of compounds, which is part of why Romans would add lead salts to their wine to make it sweeter. But at this point, I want to talk a little bit about why lead is toxic. What is it that lead does that makes it so bad for you? Lead likes to act like it's calcium in your body. Now, calcium, you know, you need for bone health and various other things, actually necessary for like neurons and signaling and such. And so anything that calcium does, lead is going to try to do in your body, including cross your blood-brain barrier and get into your brain, and then also get added into and stored in your bones. Now, the problem is that lead can't do what calcium does once it gets there. So it just ends up gumming up the works, making it difficult for synapses to fire, which can lead to the synaptic gap widening, which means that it's just kind of harder to think, literally. And then, yeah, again, it gets stored in your bones where it kind of disrupts the crystal structure of your bones. So that's kind of a problem. And then eventually it gets re-released back into your body somewhere over the course of like 5 to 10 years or something like that. So it hangs out for a while. So even though we stopped using tetraethyl lead in gasoline, and for the most part leaded paints are banned in the US, lead just still finds its way into people's bodies all the time. One of the main ways it finds its way into people's bodies actually is through these folk medicines that people can still buy for whatever reason. One of the other places that it shows up is in old houses that do still have lead paint that hasn't been removed or painted over, or it was painted over and now it's peeling again. And so if you need to test the paint that's in your house that's peeling, you can find test kits at hardware stores that are able to let you know, even in small quantities, if there's lead present in the paint in your house. But yeah, we still rocking with lead, and we just can't let it go. But if you're curious about other elements, I'd be willing to give it a shot. Leave it in the comments. If you enjoyed this one, I appreciate if you hit that like button. And until next time, it's Kim Thug.